In 2025, the war in Ukraine entered its most lethal phase for civilians. While the front lines shifted only marginally, the human cost inside cities escalated dramatically. According to the United Nations Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine, at least 2,514 civilians were killed in 2025 alone, and more than 12,000 were wounded. This is the highest civilian death toll recorded in a single year since the full-scale invasion began on February 24, 2022. These are confirmed cases, not estimates. They represent men, women, and children killed in their homes, in public transport, in hospitals, and in schools. July 2025 marked a turning point. In that single month, 286 civilians were killed and over 1,300 injured, making it the deadliest month for civilians since the start of the war. October and November followed with more than 200 civilian deaths each. This was not a temporary spike. It was a sustained pattern. Civilian casualties rose month after month, indicating a structural change in how the war was being fought. Cities that were once considered relatively safe are no longer rear areas. Kharkiv, Odessa, Dnipro, Zaporizhzhia, Mykolaiv, and Chernihiv have all experienced repeated strikes on civilian districts. Residential buildings have collapsed. Shopping centers have been destroyed. Schools and hospitals have been damaged. Entire apartment blocks have been reduced to rubble. These are not military installations. They are civilian structures located far from active front lines.
Rusia tembak jatuh jet tempur F-16 Ukraina sesaat sebelum meluncurkan rudal.
Cruise missiles, guided bombs, and loitering drones. These systems are designed for precision. That means the impact on civilian areas is not accidental. It is a consequence of operational choices. The United Nations confirms that the majority of civilian deaths in 2025 were caused by explosive weapons with wide area effects used in populated areas. Energy infrastructure has become a primary target. Power plants, substations, and heating facilities have been struck repeatedly. The result is widespread blackouts across major cities. When electricity fails, hospitals struggle to operate. When heating systems collapse, people freeze in their homes. When water pumps stop, clean water becomes scarce. This is not only military pressure. It is pressure on civilian survival. Humanitarian organizations warn that millions of Ukrainians now live without reliable access to electricity, heating, or clean water. This is happening during winter. Children are doing homework by candlelight. Elderly people are sleeping in coats. Families are using generators and wood stoves inside apartments. These conditions are not temporary disruptions. For many, this is daily life. Urban destruction has reached a scale not seen since the early months of the invasion. In some cities, entire streets no longer exist. Maps have changed. Neighborhoods have vanished. The physical landscape of Ukraine is being rewritten by artillery and missiles. Behind every statistic is a personal story. A mother searching through rubble for her child. A father digging with bare hands because rescue teams cannot reach the site. An elderly couple waiting in the dark for help that may never come. These are not isolated tragedies. They are repeated daily across the country. Hospitals are overwhelmed. Trauma wards are full. Medical supplies are under constant strain. Some hospitals are forced to operate with unstable power. Surgeries are delayed or performed under emergency conditions. Shelters are overcrowded. Basements are filled with families. Children are growing up underground. Since February 2022, Ukrainian authorities estimate that more than 16,000 civilians have been killed. More than 2,000 of those deaths occurred in 2025 alone. This means that 2025 has contributed a significant share of the total civilian death toll in just 12 months. The pace of civilian death has accelerated. International leaders continue to meet. Summits are held. Statements are issued. Weapons are sent. Sanctions are discussed. But for civilians in Ukraine, geopolitics does not stop missiles. China calls for dialogue. Europe calls for unity. The United States calls for resistance. None of that prevents a drone from entering a bedroom window. This is the uncomfortable reality. In 2025, civilians are no longer just collateral damage. They are central to the impact of this war, not necessarily because they are the primary targets, but because the methods being used make civilian suffering inevitable. Long-range weapons used in densely populated areas will always kill civilians. That is not accidental. That is structural. The most dangerous shift is normalization. When destroyed homes become routine. When civilian deaths become background noise. When society becomes desensitized. Because once that line is crossed, there is no urgency left. Only statistics. Ukraine is not only fighting for territory. It is fighting to keep its civilian population alive. It is fighting for children who should be in classrooms, not shelters. For families who should be having dinner, not funerals. If the trajectory of 2025 continues, this year will not be remembered as just another phase of the war. It will be remembered as the year Ukrainian civilians paid the highest price.